What's good, YouTube? This is Boxingwave. Please subscribe to the channel. We're going to continue on with the 2023 awards, all right? So just look out for all the videos that I'm posting. Again, if you subscribe, you'll get the notifications. But I got a bunch of videos coming out, so just be on the lookout for those, all right? But this is my second video that I'm recording, and this is going to be for the fights of the year. Now, this particular video will be in order from top 10, from 10 all the way to number 1. But before I get started with that, I just want to add in what my favorite round of the year was. I didn't want to make a complete video about this, but I have to go with the round 11 between Ishaki Foster, all right, and Rocky Hernandez. Great fight. I'm talking about back and forth. Both fighters was hurt. It was a lot online for this fight. And I'll talk more about this fight as well as I go on making content about this year. But this round 11, was the best round of the year and to me. All right. Both fighters were hurt in the round. It was just a phenomenal fight. Definitely one of the best fights of the year. Shaki Foster had a phenomenal year, right? Picking up 2 big wins. But I wanted to start out with that round 11. If you haven't seen that fight, check it out. It was at 130. It was for a title. Very good fight. And also the best round of the year to me. If you disagree, leave the comments. Give me some other rounds of the year or other rounds in the whatever, other fights of the year, whatever way you want to do it. All right, but this is my personal top 10. It's going to be in order. So let's talk about it. All right, number 10. We're going to start out with Tim Tszyu against Brian Mendoza. This is one of my personal favorites. I knew the night of the fight when I was watching it live with you guys, I knew that this was going to end up being one of my top 10 fights, and it barely made it because there was so many good fights this year. But this fight here was such a good fight because it was so competitive. And I'm talking about hard punches from 2 really good boxers that punch very hard. They've had some big knockouts recently. And this fight did not disappoint at all. I mean, no knockdowns again, but the amount of power shots that were landed in this fight. These guys went 12 rounds battling for the WBO title. It was such a good fight, and I enjoyed it. What I will say is that Tim Tszyu, outside of Jamel, that's depending on what he does, if he comes back to the division or not, I don't know. But Tim Tszyu has crowned himself as the top contender and the top champion outside of Jamel Charlo if he chooses to come back, all right? And especially with this win, Tim Tszyu had a phenomenal year. He had 3 fights. He fought Ocampo. He fought Harrison. You know, he didn't get the Jamel fight. Jamel fought Canelo, but he stayed active. And then Brian Mendoza had one of the biggest knockouts, arguably the best knockout this year against Sebastian Fundora. But this fight was heavy. It was a back and forth, good boxing, good punches. It's just what made this fight so good is like you want to see knockouts, you want to see knockdowns, but it's the fact that neither one of them got knocked out made it so good because we just got more action. Tim Tszyu won the fight. He hurt Brian Mendoza a little bit more, but Brian Mendoza, I mean, both guys showed a lot of heart in the fight. It was a great fight. If you didn't see it, check it out. I don't know if it's available. I know it was on Showtime, but I know that at least the highlights of the fight is there. This is my number 10. All right. Number 9. This one is a personal favorite and a bias for me because I was at this fight and it was one of my favorite live boxing experiences that I've ever had. Been to plenty of fights. I've probably been to like, I don't know, at least 40 fights live, 40, 50 fights live in my life. But this one's a personal favorite. It was out to London. I went to London to go see this fight personally. I was right in the front row. I had a line of people there people that I'm cool with now. This is Arthur Beterbiev against Anthony Yarde. This fight was so raw. I had to add it to the list because even though it was a dominant performance from Beterbiev, it was the best competitive but dominant performance from a fighter this year, in my opinion. And this is why I absolutely had to be on this list because we know what Beterbiev does. We know how good of a boxer he is, and we know that he is pound for pound one of the most dangerous punchers in the entire sport, pound for pound. But Yard took a lot of the punches, fought back, won a couple of rounds, had some good moments, boxed pretty good for a guy that is not as seasoned to a guy like Kovalev, who he lost to before, and Better BF. These guys had great amateur backgrounds, great professional backgrounds. Yard obviously didn't have that, but Yard put on a good performance, man. Was able to land some big shots. Nice exchanges from both. Yard got hurt a few times, and there was a point in the fight, maybe I think 7th, 8th round, where he took too much punishment, got knocked down, and the fight was over. I think the crowd, I think the corner might have thrown a towel in or whatever, waved it off. But again, it was a great fight. I was there. I love the energy. I can't wait. It was at the Wembley, not the stadium, but the arena. I had a great time. The energy was good. Everything was good. Everything that I wanted out of this fight, I got it. It was worth the money to go, fly out there and buy the ticket. And I had a great time, man. It was a great fight. And again, best one-sided fight that was very competitive still. It was still one-sided. It's not like Yard almost won. But Yard personally gave me one of the best performances against Better BF. People thought, Joe Smith Jr. was going to be a dangerous opponent. There's a lot of opponents that Arthur Better BF fought that people thought would do better. But Yard actually did the best out of everyone. And even though he still lost and he got stopped, it was very entertaining to watch. All right, so that's my number 9. Number 8, I got to go with Lee Wood against Josh Warrington. I mean, Lee Wood, another fighter that had a phenomenal year. He lost his first fight to Mauricio Lara. He was boxing so well, and he just got clipped and got knocked out. The fight was stopped. The corner stopped, and Ben Davison stopped the fight. But it was a great fight, and then he went on to beat Mauricio Lara in a rematch. Lara didn't come in as prepared. I think he was overweight. He was getting outboxed again, but this time Lee Wood stayed disciplined, and he won me my money too. He lost me my money in the first fight. I thought he actually was gonna pull it off in the first fight, but in the second fight, he made my money back and then some, and he won the fight. But regardless, this fight here between Josh Warrington and Lee Wood was such a good fight, man. Not a fight that I was particularly asking for, because at 126, my whole rant with the division, I've been saying this for years, give me a unification, Josh Warrington, former champion. I know he lost to Lopez, and, he lost to Lara too, and stuff. So it wasn't a fight that I was really asking for, but I know that Josh has a name out there. I know he's a star. I know he sells tickets. So people are going to want to see the fight. And Lee Wood fought him. And this fight was so hard, man, because Josh Warrington made Lee Wood fight his fight. And Josh was outworking him. Josh can be a pretty good brawler. Not the biggest puncher, but he can definitely outwork you and outpunch you. And I felt like Lee was kind of losing the fight because he was trying to box, but he kept getting involved in these exchanges and these battles with Josh Warrington that favored Josh Warrington. We saw that for the first time when Josh Warrington beat Carl Frampton. He just went in there, went to war, and ended up winning because he forced Frampton to fight his fight. And this fight seemed like it was going the same way, but out of nowhere, Lee Wood hurt him halfway through the fight and put him away and stopped him. Won a crazy knockout. Lee Wood is the man. He's legit. A lot of respect for him. I wish he did some unifications. There's still more fights I wanted to see at 126. But he's going to go up to 130 to fight Joe Cordina. And I can't really complain. That's a business move. It's a matchroom thing. And I get that. But it was a great fight for the amount of time that it lasted. And that was my number 8. All right. Going to the number 7 fight. I got to give it up to the ladies, man. I got to give it up to Katie Taylor, who lost to Cameron earlier this year. She went up to 140. Was it 140? She went up to 140. All right. Went to Ireland, had a homecoming fight, lost the first fight, lost a decision, close fight. But I felt that she lost the fight, the first 4-6, and this was her first loss, But it was not a bad loss because obviously she moved up in the division to challenge Cameron, right? But Taylor in a rematch, I didn't do a breakdown, but I was honest enough to tell you guys I was leaning towards Cameron in a rematch simply because Katie was getting older. Cameron was the bigger fighter, and I felt that Cameron, all she had to do is improve on what she did in the first fight. You know, I didn't think she was gonna stop Taylor or anything, but I felt like Cameron is gonna just outwork her because she's younger and she's already been at the weight. So I didn't think, even if Katie Taylor boxed a little bit better, I thought the pressure of Cameron would beat her. But Katie Taylor made the adjustments, boxed so well, so disciplined. You know, there were times where it was kind of rock'em sock'em, but Katie Taylor, for the most part, boxed so good, man. And she stayed disciplined. She stuck to the game plan, and that's exactly what won her this fight. Sticking to the game plan and just outboxing Cameron, setting up with traps, and she won. And she won it more clear and more convincing than Cameron won in the first fight. So it was more clear. Katie Taylor, again, one of the best of all time, female wise, one of the best of all time, 2 division undisputed champion. I mean, what more can I really say? You know, I think they should definitely run it back for a third time. It's definitely worth it. I mean, it's 1-1 right now. Running back, let's get one more fight. But it was a very, very good fight, man. I loved it. All right. So I am at number 6. So number 6, this is probably on the list here. This is probably the best, most technical fight, but it's also one of the most controversial fights of the year because of the decision. And that's Devin Haney against Vasyl Lomachenko. Devin Haney at this period is undisputed. Won the belts against George Kambosos. All right. For Lomachenko, I mean, everybody was concerned about the weight. You know, that Haney's been talking about how hard is this being a weight thing. They fight. It was such a good fight because Haney actually brought the fight to him. I heard a lot of people were saying that he was going to hold off fight. He was going to try to run off fight. But Haney brought the fight to him, attacked the body pretty well, you know, was able to move and follow Lomachenko. Lomachenko did his thing, and Lomachenko definitely had the biggest moments of the fight because he was the one that actually hurt Haney in the fight, especially that 11th round. But Haney won a very controversial decision. I know a lot of people, most people feel that Lomachenko won the fight, but overall, it was a phenomenal fight. I hate the fact that people say robbery because it wasn't a robbery. Even if you had Lomachenko, it was still a very, very close fight. You know, I think you could have gone 7-5 either way. It could have been a draw, whatever. But I think people ruined the moment because of the robbery thing. But if you look at the fight, it was actually a very good fight, a very competitive fight, and it was very close. And it was a very good fight. So anyway, overall, good fight, technical fight, good technical matchup, not a brawl. You had moments where some good exchanges, but it wasn't a brawl. It was at least, it was a less amount of brawling in this fight compared to other 10 on this list, but it still was worth it because you have 2 A-class technical fighters going at it, trying to outsmart each other, trying to outthink each other, and still trying to outwork each other. And it was a great fight. All right. The next one, number 5, I got to go with Nery and Havanesian. Another fight that happened really early in the year, but it was definitely one of the better fights of the year. If you like just straight brawling, if you're not into the Haney and Lomachenko, you want to see fist fly. You don't want to see any kind of like defense. You want to just see 2 guys punching each other in the face. This was the best brawl on the list. If you're looking for a brawl, if you're not looking for defense, if you're not looking for guys slipping or moving and using that, no, this is a straight brawl. Guys just punching each other in the face for the whole fight long. And Nery was able to pick up the win. This fight was at 122. And Nery is one of the top dogs that's not a champion at 122. And he's probably going to be fighting Inoue in his next fight. But this was a great match. A lot of back and forth. Fighters was getting hurt. We got knockdowns. We got all this kind of stuff. It was crazy. It was a war. If you're looking for a straight war, no defense, this is the fight to watch. Nery, Havanesian. Great fight. If you haven't seen it, look it up. It is on YouTube. I did check it. It is on YouTube. But this is one of the fights that right away, after Anthony Yard. I think this was the next fight in the earlier this year where people are already saying this might be fight of the year. And then you know what? Going down the entire year, it still holds up pretty well. And I have it at the number 5 spot. Okay, let's go down the list. The next fight here, another war. Another war. Ended up being a great fight. Not fight that people were checking for because a lot of people don't respect Jaime Munguia like that. But it's my number 4. I think it's one of the best fights of the year. Jaime Munguia against Derenchenko. It was a phenomenal fight. I mean, Derenchenko was winning the fight. Then he gets knocked down. It was so much drama in the fight. I mean, it's like the same thing with Derenchenko, man. If you look at his careers, man, it's like so you got these losses. He got the loss to Gennady Golovkin. You know, he got the loss to my man from Brooklyn. I can't think of his name right now. I'm bugging. But anyway, going out his career, Derenchenko, no one ever beat him easily. He's always had tough fights with everybody. He go in there with Jaime Munguia. Most people feel like it's a cherry pick because Jaime Munguia is, for the most part, he's just a fun fighter. He's not really fighting the best when they're at the best at the time. He just hasn't had that kind of fight yet. But this fight was just, it was just a phenomenal fight, man. A back and forth, another war, a lot of drama in it. Some people still say that Derenchenko won the fight, should have won the fight. So it was a little controversial at the end of the day, but it was still a must-see fight. It was a must-see fight, one of the best fights of the year. No complaints at all. You know, I mean, if anything you could complain about, it's a scorecard. But, I mean, it was a close fight. It was a close fight. I really wasn't mad because I was happy when I saw it. You know, and I didn't even see it live. This was a fight that I had to go back and watch like the next day. And I was so mad because everybody was talking about it. So I already knew it was a good fight, but I wish I had saw this one live. This was a great fight. All right. So now we get into the top 3, man. And, you know, at this point, these fights, you can mix them all around. I mean, all of these fights are good. Leave in the comments exactly where you got it, what your order is, and, you know, what you think should be number 1 or whatever. But the next fight here is a more recent fight, Navarrete against Cashapp. I mean, no one expected, again, another fight where no one expected for this fight to be nearly fight of the year, arguably fight of the year. Navarrete has been on a tear. It seems like no one can solve this puzzle. He's so durable. He got these weird ass angles. You know, the volume is high. You know, he punches so hard. And he's coming off one of his best performances against Oscar Valdez, where he beat the hell out of Valdez. One of the better performances of the year. He's coming off that to fight Cashapp, a guy that has a loss to Shakur Stevenson, a guy that has a loss to Oscar Valdez. And now Navarrete at his prime, and the buzz is so crazy for this dude. It didn't even seem like, you know, it was going to be a good fight. Cashapp, you know, he's struggling through the fight. He gets knocked down. But for whatever reason, this guy is outboxing Navarrete. He's outboxing him. In fact, he's going to war. He's trading with him. His volume is even higher. He's throwing even more punches than Navarrete. It's crazy. He's hitting him with everything. We know Navarrete never had the greatest defense, but he made up for it every single fight with his offense. But in this fight here, it was like Cashapp. I mean, if you saw the story and how much he wanted to win this fight, he said it was to tell his family he was going to win this fight. This fight ended up being a draw. I would love to see a part 2 of this, but it's like so many other fights I want to see. I want to see Navarrete against O'Shaquie Foster. That's one of the fights that I want to see for 2024. Maybe we'll get it at some point. You know, O'Shaquie is with Top Rank now. But anyway, this fight was phenomenal. Cashapp, give him a lot of credit. He showed a lot of heart. He got knocked down, but it was like he was winning rounds. And it was also controversial because a lot of people at the end of the fight were going back and forth. A lot of people feel that Navarrete and his status in this game dropped a few notches because of this performance. So this was a very, very good fight. Please, all of these fights, if you haven't seen already, Navarrete against Cashapp, phenomenal fight, one of the best. All right. And then we had to go, and it's getting tougher. You know, trying to pick one fight out of all of these great fights. I mean, all of these great fights, at least at least maybe the top 7 could easily be number 1. Easily one. I mean, I'm talking about the night of the fight. The commentary, the fans, everybody on social media was saying, "Oh, that's fight of the year. That's fight of the year. This is fight of the year." It can go like it really be like that. You know what I mean? So let's go to the last 2, and this was so hard for me to figure out because these 2 instantly to me, I said fight of the year. So I had to really go back, rewatch some of the highlights, and try to decide where I was going with this one. And I have picked a winner. I'm going to go with number 2. If I go with number 2, I'm sure y'all got to know which my number 1 is. But this was tough. And this is what I was battling with. Robeisy Ramirez against Rafael Espinoza. Oh, my God. Who would have ever known? I mean, I didn't look up Espinoza. I honestly said that when I watched this fight, I was covering another fight from that night. I can't remember which it was, but this was a recent fight. So I'm doing live commentary. I have the fight on the side here, but on TV, I think I had a dazn card on. So as this fight was playing, I'm watching it, but I'm not focusing on it. I had to go back, rewatch it. And man, Robeisy Ramirez fought this guy. This fight is at 126. Ramirez is defending his titles. He's hot. You got this guy, Espinoza. He's like 6'2" at 126. Crazy, right? Crazy. And early on, the guy is boxing. He's using his jab. He's using his range. He's being slick. Defensively, he's being good. First 4 rounds, I give it to him. And then out of nowhere, Robeisy, it seems like the drop step is not working for Robeisy Ramirez. And you know how he do the drop step and then comes up with the counter? He's doing it, but this guy, Rafael, steps back, he pumps his jab using that reach, and out of nowhere, Ramirez lands a big looping right hand that drops. He totally folds this dude, right? In the 5th round, that I thought he was losing that round too. Folds this dude. Looks like it's over. It looks like this fight is done. But Espinoza gets up and survives the round. Has a tough 6th round. Right? So it takes a little while for him to recover and get right back. But Robeisy went on a nice little run where he picked up a few rounds, came back in the fight, right? Even though Espinoza was still working, Robeisy kept hurting him. He didn't drop him, but kept hurting him. And then at the end, in the final rounds, man, it just goes to a complete war. And Espinoza hurts Robeisy Ramirez, drops him, almost stops him, but Robeisy Ramirez finishes the fight. Phenomenal fight. Espinoza's a new champ at 126, came out of nowhere. I didn't get a chance to check this guy out before the fight. It was one of the best fights. Can easily be fight of the year. Easily fight of the year. But the fight of the year that I picked, I had to go with a Shocky Foster against Rocky Hernandez. I mean, come on. What the hell, yo? It's like, yo, like, you watching this fight and you're like, seriously? Like, really? Like, you got Hernandez. We already know this fight is in Mexico. You got a Shocky Foster. He's a champion, but they fighting in Mexico. He's going out. We expected him to box. We know Hernandez is going to run towards him and push him and press him with pressure. And Foster's fighting back. It's a real fight. Back and forth. Fighters is getting hurt. This and that and the third. They're going back and forth. And then the 11th round happened, which I started this reading. I was hinting at this 11th round of the year, where they both hurt each other. And then out of nowhere, as 12th round comes, expected to go to a decision. By the way, the judges have Hernandez up pretty wide. They're in Mexico. Regardless of how you feel the fight is going, they're in Mexico. And Foster stops him at the end of the 12th round, which is crazy, because Hernandez was hurt and he was taking a lot of punches, but it was only seconds to go in the fight, and they stopped the fight. Phenomenal performance from a Shocky Foster. I mean, way to win, way to finish the fight. Talking about 12th round and going back to Lomachenko and, Haney, which is such a close fight. The Lomachenko backed off in the 12th because he felt that he was up enough to win. But this is what you do. This is how you win. You don't know what the scorecards are going to be. You don't know how you want to eliminate the judges. And that's what Shocky Foster did one of the better boxers of the year. He really showed out this year, and this was a great fight. I had to pick this as number one because this had so much drama. You're dealing with a boxer against a pressure fighter, but the boxer really came to fight, you know, and he really stood his ground against the pressure fighter in his hometown. It was great. I had a great time, man. Anyway, that's my fights of the year, my top 10. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Again, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, leave comments. I'll see you guys on the next one. I got more on the way. Peace.